All right, here starts the class. Okay, so now with the start of today's class, what I do want to talk about are some basic commands. Now, keep in mind and understand that everything you do on your Linux boxes, some things are installed by default. And some of those things that are installed by default are bash. There's usually a bash terminal or sh terminal. So we can find it out again. We can do a rpm-qa and pipe that over to grep and search for bash. So you can see I have bash 4.246 installed. Now, here's some things I can find out with doing my RPM query as well too. I can find out what packages were installed with my RPM. So let's do a rpm-qilc, and then let's just do bash because I don't have anything else associated with it. I don't have to do bash dash RPM or whatever. So I can just do rpm-qilc and then bash. All right, so we got a lot of information here. All right, the information we got here from running this rpm-qilc, what I got was, first off, I already know from my first command that it's installed on my system. Now it's telling me like what version I have, the release. It's telling me the install date of this particular bash, the environments that this is actually found in, and we'll talk about that. And then it tells me the build host from CentOS, like what host it was built on, and so forth. And it also gives me that the vendors from CentOS, and then the URL, and then it gives me a description of it. The other thing that it also gives me is like the packages that were installed along, well, not the packages, but the files that were installed along with it. So it gave me the .bash logout, a .bash profile, and a .bash rc. Now, why did I run the rpm qilc command, and how did I know to run that? So if we do a man on rpm, and remember the man pages are like your help files. So if I do a man on RPM, I get a lovely list of options and things that I can do with just the RPM command. And this is important when you're on a test or you don't have access to the internet or you're trying to figure out something. The man pages are your friend. All right, and we're gonna dive off into that too. So here you see I did a RPM QILC. Q meaning query, and then the I, if we scroll down here, it'll tell us right here. Come on, I. Just a dash I. Okay. Let me go back up. I might have passed it. Oh, there it is. Right in front of me. So query, the dash I is the install. In other words, what packages are pretty much install. RPM QIL list is there's probably more of it, and then the C is what we're looking for. So here's the C for config files, and then we need an L for list. So as you can see, those were my query options. So what I did a query on installed config files and list them, right? And so I could go one step further and do files by that package. Let's go back and do that. Um, all right. So now you get more output. Really cool, right? So the more output I got was, all right. So the sh scripts can be run by bash without modification. So it's telling me there's user bin bash, user bin bg. So these are things that can that the inside my bash script I can run these things. So, and you'll see here I have man pages. I remember I told you man is your friend, and these are the locations of the files of that I'm going to be reading for the man pages. So let's clear this. So another use of the man pages is a man dash K and then dash. Now, what is the dash K? The dash K tells man to go search, and that's what the man dash K does. So let's do a man dash H. So if I scroll up and find my dash K, so if I wanted to use appropriates or appropriates, I can use that command, or I can use the what is command. But I just use a man dash K, and it basically is going to go out and search the man database for stuff. So let's clear that and do a man dash K on bash. So it says there's nothing in that search, right? So let's go back to man. Let's go back to our man help file and see what else can we do, because we know it's there because we just did a man on bash, but it's saying that this system here doesn't have that information. So let's do a capital K, search for all text and all pages. All right, so let's do a capital K. Let's clear my screen and let's make this a capital K. All right, so you can see I did the capital K and it found stuff for me. And it's giving me what options I have that I can run with my bash file or my bash command, and other things that go along with it. So you get a listing of things you can do with bash. You can pipe and do time and do list and just a whole bunch of things you can do. All right, so let's do this, quit, and then Control C. Click. So, any questions so far, ManDB?
Call on Jordan and see if she's in her box yet.
ManDB. So, process the manual pages. It's doing this thing. All right, let's see what happens if we go back and do that man dash K again. All right, let's clear man dash K, lowercase k, on bash. There we go. Good job. So now, pretty much, we just updated the database for that. That's what that looks like, and then it gives you some output. But it's almost like equivalent to that man dash K. But here's what you can get out of that. So I can do a man bash. I think it's man bash 1. Is that how it works? Yeah. So that's what it is. These numbers here are associated what man pages you can pull from. So basically, when I do that, if I did a man bash 1, I'm gonna find like weight is located in here, and different things I can do with weight. And let me see if we got a different man page. We don't. So yeah, the 1 is the one that's associated with
what
that.
we use Ubuntu or
CentOS? We're using CentOS 7.4. All right, so that was a little brief synopsis of man and things we can find out about associated files with the share. So anything when you run the man pages, you can CD over to user share doc. All right, and so that's what I did. I changed directories. That's what CD stands for, to user share doc. Now, when I do a ls, you'll see like a ton of folders, and pretty much these folders are read to let me know what actually is installed. And you can see I have a folder for bash. So let's clear, and inside here you'll see copying. So let's cat. Let's do this. This is another command. I don't know what copying is, so I'll do a file on copying, and it's telling me it's just an ASCII text file. So now I know it's just a text file. I can just use cat on copying or Vim. All right, so it's just giving me a text file, as you can see, just a whole bunch of text here. And then I can do a Vim on copying. Oh, I don't have Vim installed, but that's okay. We're gonna fix that. So it's just giving me the license, the preamble, just information. All right, so it's clear. Let's CD up one. CD up one more. And let's see, is there a user share? Yeah, just user share doc. Yeah, and that's where everything is at for your man pages. And if I don't know what all the man pages are, again, I can just do a man. I should be able to do a man on bash. And it should tell me exactly what I need to know about it. So are there any questions about the man pages and finding out information? All right, so let's go one step further. Let's do, I didn't have Vim installed, but how can I find out what's available to me? We could do a yum, we could do a search on Vim. Because I know it's not installed, so there's no need for me to run RPM because it already told me that it wasn't on my system because I couldn't run the command. But sometimes you may run something and you may run a command and it may be on your system, but it's just not in your path. We'll talk about that. All right, so I see I have options for Vim Enhanced. So I'm going to highlight this and I'm going to do a yum install on Vim Enhanced x86-64. And now I want x86-64. Really, I don't have a choice because for CentOS and Rails 7 is they came out with 64-bit only. They didn't come out with 32-bit. On CentOS 5 and 6, they came out with 32-bit and 64-bit. So let's do an install. Now, I didn't hit the -Y for it to automatically install for a couple of reasons. I want you to see what other packages that it's installing. No architecture is no ARC, and x86, 64, 64-bit. It's coming from the repository of base. And remember, I don't know how far I can go back up. I can't. But remember, we had a web address of where base comes from. And then it installs these Perl options or Perl, not commands, but Perl packages. And then the Vim file system. And then it tells me that it has 30 dependent packages. So now at this point, I have three options. I can say yes to just install it, or I can, D stands for just download the packages. And then I'll install them myself at a later time. Or I may need to download the packages to put them on another machine. But it gives me all the packages and the dependencies associated with it, which is one of the major differences between Yum and RPM. RPM does not give you dependencies associated with installing an RPM. So let's do two things. Let's just do a download here, right? So it's downloading these packages for me. All right. So let's see where they're located at. PWD. I hope I didn't download them to here. Let's go and see where they put them at. Okay, so yeah, they're just downloaded inside of here, right? So let's go over there. All right, so as you can see, let me do it LL. Yeah. So as you can see, I just have a download of these packages, right? So let's say I've downloaded these packages, but I still want to install Vim Enhance. But this time, instead of me installing Vim Enhance using Yum, I'm going to show you where you use RPM and it's going to fill them. So let's clear my screen. Let's do a RPM dash. You could do a UVH for update or IVH. Let's do Vim, and if I double tab, it's gonna give me everything that's associated with Vim star, anything Vim dash star associated, meaning a wildcard or a blob. So this time I want to do enhanced, and I'm just gonna tab complete everything. And so I'm now going to just try to install this RPM as is. Now look, I have all these errors that come up. So that means what I have to do is I know that it's requiring this lib GPM, this lib Perl, and so forth. I have to go back and install each one of those individually. And that could be a nightmare. You could become, we call it dependency hell, where we're just back and forth trying to get RPMs installed. So is that the best way to do that? No. All right. So now let's clear this and let's go back to my arrow and then let's do a yum install. Now you remember I told you we had base, right? Remember I told you we had the base and this is where base is located. So it's pulling from that web address. All right, now you can see now I still have the download and so forth and so on, but it's gonna install from uh the base repository that I have here. That's where it's pulling from. All right. So now once it starts to install, it says, hey, I got some things that you need to approve of. And those things are, hey, I have a key that officially says that these packages are signed by CentOS, and here's the RPM key that it should show up for each one of these RPMs. And I'm saying, yeah, I'm accepting it. But you can make your own RPM keys and assign and make your own RPMs and then assign them to that particular package. But for right now, we're not doing that. So we're just going to say yes, and it's going to install Vim. Now, if we back up, I downloaded all those RPMs already, right? And I have another system where I want to have Vim installed. Well, basically, I could take those RPMs that I've downloaded, and I know we all have all the dependencies for them already, and I can create my own repo, and then point uh, point to that. So let's go back over that. Let's make a directory called my Vim repo. Oops, spelled that wrong. All right, and where are we? Okay, we're still in the directory. Oh, you see, it pulled it from the directory and installed it. You see, like they're gone now. They're not cached there because when var cached, we cached them and just kind of held the place. Let's go back and reinstall. Let me see if I can do a reinstall. Oh, better yet, let me see if I can do a download. So how can we do that? Let's do a man on yum. I think it may be dash downloader. Or I may have to install downloader. Yeah. So let's clear. Let's do a yum install yum downloader. Let's see, it's not finding it. Let's do search. It may already be there. All right, let's do yum and then tab. There it is. All right, clear. And then we can do a dash help. All right, so it's telling me from it's just gonna cache or I just want to download. Let's look and see. We can enable a repo. Assume yes. Let's do dash download only. That was Vim enhanced. All right. Now you can see it just downloaded that one RPM. We know for a fact that RPM has other dependencies. So that's not gonna work from us, but what we're gonna do, we're gonna fix this. We're gonna rsync this over to the directory we just made. What did I call it? My RPM. All right, so rsync and I want to preserve everything. So I want to preserve recursively, verbosely, I think all for this package, and then move it over to, or rsync it, making a copy of it with the same permissions into that directory. So it gives me output. So now if I do an ls on that my Vim repo, you'll see that that package is there. If I do pwd, you'll see the location I'm in. And if I do an ls there, you see the package is also there too. So I copied the package over pretty much. I could have used copy, but I like to use rsync, and you should too, to try to maintain permissions. All right. So we know that this package has dependencies. So let's go back to Yum downloader. Let's do a Yum downloader / help. And let's see if it's going to, okay, -- resolve dependencies and download required packages. So let's go over to my directory. All right, let's do the up arrow. And then let's put in -- resolve. And let's see if it downloads those other RPMs. Oh, nope, it didn't do that. Let's see. Resolve dependencies and download required packages. Well, let's see something here. Can I do Yum downloader? Let's look to see if I could do an install. Let's do this. Okay. Let's look it up online. Let's see something. Let's see how we can get Yum downloader to resolve those dependencies as well. All right, where's my little thingy? Here we go. All right, let's do Yum downloader. Sure, let's give an example, and then dependencies. Let's do dependencies. Let's see what we get here. All right. We see that we got the directory. We got to install, download, download the package name, but it didn't download the packages. Let's go back and try it again without the -- resolve. Maybe I had to tell it a directory. And see, to download with dependencies, you can use -- resolve. Yeah, that's what I thought. Wonder why it's not working. Let's see, do I need Yum utils? Let's see if I need to install that first before the resolve will start to work. All right, I'm gonna pass it to -y so it can automatically install Yum utils. It's already installed. And we did the Yum downloader -- resolve Vim enhanced. It didn't do what we needed it to do, so let's go back over here. Let's just do the -- resolve without the download on. All right, so let's do this. Let's do a Yum remove first of Vim enhanced. And this is how you remove a package. I'm just gonna remove it. And let's see if it'll, yeah, it's not grabbing it. I think because the packages are already installed itself. So let's do another one. Let's do a Yum install HTTPD. I don't think it has dependencies. Oh, it does. All right, so let's do a no on that. And let's try the same thing for Yum. I'll do this. Let's make a directory. All right, we just get rid of this because remove this because we don't need it for what we're trying to do. All right, and then let's do yum resolve HTTPD. All right, so it's going to get those packages and then it puts it in there. So what we learned is if the package is already installed with its dependencies, it's not going to grab the dependencies and the package to install. In this case, we did a resolve for a yum downloader dash resolve for HTTPD, and then now we got we have a the RPMs that are needed to install for HTTPD. Now, as you look here, you can see that if I want to do a yum install, I could do a yum install from the packages that I've downloaded and the location of where those packages are at. And yum would do the install for that. So in this case, let's cut and paste here because I don't have HTTPD installed. And let's do that. First off, let's get where I'm currently working in the directory. So let's go back and do this. And then let's change this over to slash my VM repo. All right. Oh, HTTPD. Oh, that was the download. So now I need to install. So now it's going to look in that directory, which we have, and we have all the dependencies. So it shouldn't fail, and then we should be able to install. So that's a workaround when you're like on a system and you're trying to you have access on one system to the internet and the other system doesn't have access. You can use Yum Downloader to download all the dependencies that you need. And then from there, put it in a directory, move the information over to that machine, and then point it to pull from there. Or you can create a repo. So let's really talk about how Yum does its magic. So if we cd over to etc yum.repo, I'm going to clear this and I'm going to do an ls. Remember we saw all those things, the websites that were spinning up. We saw base. We saw, I don't think we saw Vault. Let's do a Yum list. Oh no, that's just a list packages. Let's do a Yum install Vim. And that's okay, but I just wanted to show you, you see base, extras, and updates. So up here we see base, but we don't see the extras, we don't see the updates. Why? Well, I'm going to show you why after this install. Alright, so if we open up this file, CentOSbase.repo, well, we have some magic going on here. And this magic is we have the CentOS server, we have a GPG check. In other words, again, we're checking this file to make sure that the key, and when I say the key, it's kind of like your authorized key, like a signature key that all the RPMs are signed to. And when I say signed, not assigned, but signed, are there. And then here's another one where it goes out and reaches, and these are environment variables that is using here. The $release server, it checks your system and see what release you're on, what version you're on, and then pulls from that particular one. and then you see the extras. And then you see CentOS Plus, but you can see that it's not enabled. And you see GPG check here, the key, all of that stuff. So let's enable this. So once we enable a directory, we have, or not a directory, once we enable a repo, we have to do one more thing. We have to let Yum know that there's an update to this repo that's needed. So the next thing we're going to run is we're going to do a Yum. You can do a Yum list or you can do a Yum update. So in this case, let's just do a Yum update. And so now you'll see CentOS Plus has shown up. And then you'll see CentOS Plus is pulling from a particular location. And you also see that over here on the right hand side, I got updates and it's pulling from CentOS Plus some postfix and Python information. So now we're going to do an update and it's going to update these packages for me. All right. Any questions so far? All right. Everybody with me? Just double checking here. All right. So that's just like the basic package manager. Yum. That's just the basics of how to use the download. There's so much more to Yum than what I just showed you that you can do. We're going to let this do its install and let me get some information out to some people. Hold on. And then what the next thing we're going to do is we're going to look at how we can use other ways we can use the package manager and possibly we could set up our own repo. We should do that. We should set up our own repo. All right. So let's see where we're at. Still going. Okay. So while that's doing this thing, let's talk about create repo. Yeah. All right. So this is where you start talking about setting up your own repository. All right. So I made my directory, and I don't know if you all can see this where I'm located at on this page, but I'm right here. So we did this part already. And then we did a create repo. We're going to install this. And then we're not going to do this part because we don't need to. We're just going to run a create repo on that particular folder. And then we're going to tell CentOS where to look for those packages at and then go from there. The best way to do this, we're gonna do probably, let me see if Google Chrome, I know Google Chrome is not in the base, so I know they have a repo for it. Okay, here we go. Let's look. Here's the key, here's the pub, and if you want to use RPM, you got to import this key and then verify that it's up and running, and then to manually verify, you do that. But we should be installing Chrome from their package. Let's look and see here where we at with this. Still going. All right, so this only looks like the key, and then we import the key, and it says verify the key installation is running. and then do that. But that's not what we want. We need to download we need a repo for Chrome. And let's go for CentOS here. Narrow our search down. Yeah, this looks a little better. So you just saw what a repo looked like. So let's go with this one here. Here's the Google Chrome one. All right. So after that, we're going to set that up. And I'll send you this link. Oh, let me do this. All right. So now, we still got a hold up here. Still doing this thing. What we're going to do is we're going to grab this. And we're going to cut and paste it. And we're going to make a file just like they say here, Google Chrome.repo. Whenever this finishes. And once we make that Google Chrome repo, again, we got to do a yum update for it. And then once we do the yum update for it, then we're going to have to do our yum install of Google Chrome. It's going to go out to this web address and do a search. It's going to ask us first to make sure that this key, do you have the key? It's going to pull this key in, and do you want to import that key? And we're going to say yes. And then it's going to go out and do the rest of everything it needs to do for installing. Could this be done using RPM? Yes. But remember, if we do it through RPM, we possibly have a problem with RPM dependencies. All right. So, okay, it's still doing its thing here. Whenever that goes away, then we can do this because I can't start another process of Yum. It won't allow me to until this one is completed. You only have one process to run at a time when you're doing Yum because it has access to resources and databases, the Yum repo, and so forth. So I gotta wait for that. So the other thing we're going to talk about tonight is we've been using some commands. So, but we haven't done a bash tutorial. And we should do a bash tutorial, and we should do a Vim tutorial. So let's look at some bash stuff. And the other thing I want you all to get used to using is HackerRank. So you can go to HackerRank, and you could check out. That's not it. This is it. All right, so in here I can type bash. Let's see, they don't have it right there. Let's go to practice. And that probably is Linux shell. So here you're talking about you can walk through and do different things. Like in bash, you could do bash challenges. You could do text processing, arrays in bash, grep set awk. You can come back over here and you can do Python, set up some stuff in Python, doing strings, tools, collections, different stuff. You can also use it for Go training. Not Goldfish, but Go. Come on, let's go back to practice. Hold on. All right, Go. And I'll give you one more that you can use. They don't like the word Go. I know it's on here though. Now, so the other one is exorcism. what exorcism allows you to do is you can pick languages, and then here's the different languages you can use to um, practice problems with. I am looking for Go, so here's Go, and then here's 103 problems that you can use to you learn Go. All right, we see that as my stuff is finished. One other thing I want to show you is if you go over here to CD to var log, let's do an ls. In fact, let's do an ls minus lrth. All right, why am I doing that? How would I find out what these actual parameters are? Well, if I did a man on ls, I probably would find that out. So if I did a man, I did an L, lowercase l, scroll down here to the L's. And you can see I'm doing a long listing format. I did a ls minus ltrh. R for recursive, capital R, reverse order. I'm reverse sorting here. Big R is for recursive. The H is for human format, I believe. Human readable. And then the T is for sort by modification time, newest being first. All right, so when I do that ls minus lrth, that's what it's doing for me. And I can see that messages and secure were the last things that were written to. So one thing I can do as well too is I can find out what the last 15 lines of, because I'm in the path, I can do just messages, but it's just common practices to say var log messages. Just give it the absolute path. And as you can see, it's giving me the last 15 messages are var log message, all right, of that file. But if I want to find out how many lines are in that file, I can do, I can cat messages, and then I can do WC minus L. And that stands for word count, and it tells me there's over 1,000 lines inside this file. But I only ask for the last 15 lines, and I can double verify that those are the last 15 lines by going here into the file, and let's just do the last line so we can see that we know that's the last line. We've seen that. And then what you also get in here is you see that when I did my Yum install, you can see there was something going on with Yum and what it was doing. So you can see some stuff here, right? You can see some stuff that was going on, like the install and so forth. Another thing you can get out of our log is you can get a Yum log. So you can tell what files or packages were installed. So let's do another tail dash n, and let's give me the last 5 lines of yum.log. And you can see these are the last 5 RPMs that were updated. So we know that what we found out is, and this is something you should make a note of, anytime I install a package using Yum, Yum has its own log file, which is found in var log and yum.log. And that sometimes the messages are written to var log / messages. Now, how does Yum know to do that? Well, if we do some things that we did earlier, we can find out some information about what Yum is doing. And that information we can find out, we know for a fact that we run this command here. We know that the package is already installed. So since the package is already installed, what can I use? RPM. So let's do an RPM query and grep. Now query Q-A means query the entire database, but I'm gonna massage the data by piping that over to grep, and then I'm gonna grep for Yum. Well, I see I'm getting returns on Yum utils, Yum 3.43, Yum plugins, so forth and so on. Well, what can I do with that information? I know for a fact I'm just using Yum. So I'm gonna do one more thing I did earlier. RPM-QILC on Yum and list. Well, look here. Look what I found out. I found out there's some config packages on Yum, the yum.conf, the version of the groups, and the log rotate. So what that log rotate is telling me is what I know just from working in Linux is that the yum.log gets rotated out. Now, how often it gets rotated out, I'll find that out in this file here, this log rotate.yum. So let's go there and VM that. So I know that if it's missing, it's going to create a new file. You can see there was var log yum.log. If it's missing, that's okay. It's going to create one for me. It's going to do a size, and it's rotating it yearly. So it just rotates on a yearly basis. So that file is just going to continue to grow. You can change this. And the permissions that it's going to create on is going to be owned by the user and the group of root, and the permissions are going to be 0600. And that's the standard. I haven't changed that. That's not probably, it is standard across the CentOS stuff, and probably the same for apt-get. It's on Debian, so it's probably the same for them too. 0600. What else did I find out? I found out from a query that I have etc.yum.conf. So let's vim etc.yum.conf. And that's why I like Vim, because I get the different colors. So in here, in my etc.yum.conf, I can see I got a debug level of 2. I have a GPG check. I have a CentOS repo. I have the log file, where it's pulling from. Remember, we saw earlier we did a var cache yum, the base, the release. Remember, that's where they all got downloaded to. Check for the GPG. I can put that in here, never check for it. Move the plugins, install only limit 5. So what is install only limit equal to 5? We wanna find that out. We'll have to do some search to find that out. And then the package, the distro package, is CentOS. All right, so now let's go over to our etc yum. Oh yeah, we were querying where that came from. So we queried the yum terminal, the yum package. We found out one where it puts the log file in it. We found out the log rotate, and we found out the config files that was installed, and we did it all with the RPM query of that particular file. And we could do one more. Dash files by PKG, files by package. Now you get a whole bunch of other stuff, right? Like plugin.conf, protected vars version group.conf. And let's go look at that, just out of curiosity. So it tells the run with packages, true, glibc, RPM. These are the top level things to do with Yum. We do not list libsc-linux, even though that's a required package by RPM. And I guess these are just like whenever you run the package list, it's gonna automatically, I guess, look for these things to install. If that's what I'm thinking of. All right. So clear. Let's make sure version-group.conf. Let me make sure I tell you right on that. No, that's Python. Where is my? There it is. That's Ansible. Let's see. All right. You can also specify version groups in the version groups configure file. If you pass the -v, her rewards more information is listed. The version is calculated by taking a okay, whatever. The list of defined version groups, version group info, version install, version available, version all. So there are other commands you can use with version. Just a little FYI, I'll send this to you. Okay, so last but not least, let's get our repo. Let's create a repo. So we're going to cd over to yum.repo. Okay, we're going to go back to this file here. All right, we're going to just grab this entire thing. I'm going to call this google-chrome.repo. So we're going to vim google-chrome.repo. And we're just going to cut and paste that. It's telling, again, the name of the repository, the location of the repo. It's enabled. If it was 0, it wouldn't show up, just like I showed you with the CentOS Plus, the GPG check, and then we're going to run with the key. So next thing is do a yum update here. So we can see that the Chrome is turned on and it's pulling from that as well. But now let's do a yum install of Google. Let's see if it's called Google-Chrome or maybe just Chrome. We'll find out. If not, if we don't figure it out, we could have just did a yum search Chrome. All right. What we have found is we have some dependencies, and apparently those very dependencies that we have are not in the base repo of what we already have. 9 times out of 10, they're probably in the EPEL. So we have to come over here and do EPEL CentOS. And what we're going to do is we're going to grab a link, which is this one here. I'll give you all this. I'm going to grab this link. I'm just going to copy the link address. And of course, I don't have wget installed, but I do have yum. So you can install this using yum, or you can install this using RPM. In this case, I'm just going to use yum install from a website, from a web address. And it's going to go out and say, oh, you want me to install that? And I'm going to say yes. So it installed the EPEL release. I'm going to go back up. I didn't import the key. So there's a RPM key that's been created under, I think it's PKI, etc PKI TLS. Wait, maybe RPM GPG. Hold on. Yeah. TLS? No, RPM. Yeah, RPM GPG. And then there is the keys there. In this case, I want the EPEL key right here, the EPEL key. Now I'm going to say RPM -- import that into the database. So it's imported. So now I'm going to use my up arrow and I'm going to install Google Chrome. It should go and grab the repo, the information from the EPEL. As you can see, the EPEL has been updated in terms of like the ability for me to pull from. And then it's pulling in dependencies. And like I said before, those dependencies were probably in the EPEL. As you can see, I have a whole list of dependencies here, right? A whole list of RPMs. We could do three things. We can do yes to install this, we can download this information, or we can say no. If we had to put this on another system, we could just download these RPMs, bottle these RPMs up into a tar file, move them over to a directory on that machine and install them, or we can create our own repo, which we did earlier. I showed you that, how to create our own repo. So in this case, we're just going to install Chrome. So now Chrome is now being installed in all 89 dependencies. It's another check from key signage. I didn't grab that key. There's something inside of that Google Chrome that's telling me that I need this particular key signing. I'm gonna say yes. There's another one. I'm gonna say yes again. And it's not gonna ask me for the EPEL because I've already done that. But if I didn't do that, it would ask. And now it does the install. So that's the gist of like RPM, making directories, checking config files, checking log files. We went over log rotate. We went over a lot of commands that are useful for you to figure out, where you're erroring out at on things, where things are getting logged. We know for a fact that yum.log rotates on a yearly basis. So if we went over to if we reboot our system and then come back in and do another yum install on a package, it's probably going to log to that same file. But I think it gets to a size of 30, so we have to double check that. So, but let's see what happens after this install and go from there. Any questions on anything I've gone over? Any concerns? Okay. So the other thing I want to show you is also some grep, which I showed you how to do the grep information. And then I want to show you, I think next week, what we're going to do is some for loops and arrays and so forth. So next week, you should prepare yourself to do some scripting. And we're going to get into that. So when I say some scripting, this is going to go hand in hand with some stuff. So let me show you some stuff. So by sure nature of default, and just to double verify, Google is installed. So if I do Google-Chrome, I could have done that before, but now I have Chrome installed. So I can kick off Google-Chrome in the background, and it'll pop up a web browser. But I'll have to SSH and then redo a redirect on it, and I'll talk about that next week on how you can uh, do commands on your machine and then connect from your local machine to your box and then access the web from inside your Linux box that's out on DigitalOcean or somewhere else, which is uh, really something you should be looking at. All right, so next week, doing things like this. So if we cat etc password, you will see something that's common to each one of these lines. And each one of these lines, what's common is the colon, right? So there are things that we can use inside of Bash, and there are things we can use inside of Python, and there are things we can use inside of Go. So we're going to probably be doing some Bash, Python, and Go next week, just to get familiar with all three of them. This is just going to be really basic. So I advise you to go to Exercism and play with Bash, and play with Python, and play with Go. Those are the three ones that you should be playing with. If you're doing web development, it's probably Ruby and something else. But for this class, for what we're going to do is Bash, Python, and Go. All right. So we know there's something common about each one of these lines. Is they're separated by colon. So inside of Bash, there are things that we can use like cut, awk, and said. So cut. Let's not look at that man page. Let's really look at what cut can do for us. All right. So cut by example. All right. So I just did a cat on that file, but I noticed that it's divided by columns. So what would happen? Let's just try this command. Let's see what it gives us. They did it on a test too. We're gonna do it on our file that we were just playing with. So let's do this. Oh, where you go? Oh, it just left me. Why did it leave me? Well, where'd you go? Oh, here it is. Back over here. Get my screen down. All right, so let's clear. So the file I'm playing with is etc password. Anytime you start playing with files, the first thing you do is copy etc password over to etc password dot backup. Just so if you mess something up, you can go into like emergency mode or back into the command line and copy that file back over and reboot the system. All right, so let's do a cut -c2 on etc password. What does it give us? It gives us gibberish. That's not really what we want. So we have, and they don't give it down here. Here we go. We know for a fact that first off, we got some delimiters by colon. So this -d here is telling us, why don't you try the -d, right? So let's do a cat on etc password and pipe. Remember, we will want to feed into another command. So we're doing one thing, and the output of that we're going to feed that into cut. So I'm going to now do a cut. I know for a fact there is delimited by colon. So let's do a -d colon, and I want to get the first field. So let's do just -F1. Well, look, I got the first column, right? So let's go back and just do the cut here. And then we scroll up here. You can see the first column here, like TSS, there it is right there. Root is at the top, root is right there. Well, guess what? I want other columns. So let's count it off. So we can say this is column 1, this is column 2, this is column 3, this is column 4, this is column 5, this is column 6, and this is column 7. So in this case, I want column, and when you have users, let's do this, user add tam. All right, clear. And let's look at cat and then grep tam. All right, so you can see tam gets a unique ID of 1001. I also get a home directory, and I also get some other stuff like my shell. But you can see here that I got a column, I got 2 columns back to back. That means I left out some information. And usually the information that I left out is like passing my full name to this command. So let me look at user add so you can see what I'm talking about. So I can tell it the base dir, the -sheet is the comment. That's what goes in that particular location. Let's user del tam. And actually, I should do the user del -r, but it's not going to work now because tam's not there. But if I went to /home, I would have a home directory. The user del -r removes the home directory. But the user is not there no more, so I could just remove this here. All right, so let's user add -c tam. Warning, home directory already exists. Create a mailbox. So let's go here to home. User, I did rm-rf tam. User del tam clear. And let's try that command again. Okay, that's fine. Let's go and look at the user, the cat etc password for tam. There it is. There's that -c with that comment. So what I want to do using the cut command and using the delimiters of colon, I want to grab column 1, column 2, no, column 3, sorry, column 4, column 5, column 6, and column 7. So the command would look like cat etc password. And you can grep for tam. That's going to give you that, right? But I don't want all of that. Remember, I'm feeding dash F1, comma. You can't do through. Like I could have did 1 through 7, but I'm skipping a column. So 3, 4, and it may work on the space there. I got to double check that. 5, 6, and 7. So yeah. So it cut. Oh, it grabbed that X. So that's 0. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So it grabbed the X. It shouldn't have grabbed the X. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, it should not have grabbed this. But what it did was, it's because I did a grep on tam, it did that. But I'll show you a difference if I don't do a grep on tam. Oh, you know what? Yeah. Let's do this. Now I still grabbed it. Let's see. Let's find out why. All right. Let's go back. Let's do this cat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It should be skipping the X because we're delimiting on. Oh, you guys didn't catch that. We didn't delimit on the colon. There it goes. We can go back and now we can grep for tam and feed the output there. And as you can see, I grepped for the tam, got rid of the X, everything delimited on colon, and that's what it is. So that's how that works. And so you could do things with cut and the things you can do with awk. So awk does the same thing, but it does it a little differently. As you can see here, awk starts with, print column 0. It does a -F and uses the delimiters here for that, and then prints it out. So that's your major difference there. So let's do it with awk. You can do the same thing, but this time we're just gonna do awk -F, the delimiter is colon, and in this case we want to print $. I wonder if $1 through 7 will work. Can we do that? Let's do $1 first to prove a point that it still works the same way. And you see I got the first one. And let's do 1 here, through, let's do 1. I'm going to see if I had to look and see. I don't think this is the correct syntax. Okay, it is. All right, so let's do $3, $4, $5, $6, and $7. And you can see it cut out those colons that I originally had before appear when I did the TAM, and it just treat the -F as field separators. So each one has their own field in it. Like I can store each one of these into their own environment variables. So that's awk. That's cut. So let's go do something else. Let's open up etc password. And I know I have TAM in here. So if I do a slash, I type TAM, it searches the whole file for TAM. And it's found TAM. But I want to change something. Now, this is not how you change a user. I'm just showing you how to use Vim. I mean, not Vim, but how to use sed. So if I do a colon, %s, I am going to tell the file, I'm going to tell this command to go search TAM. And then after you search for TAM, change it. Let's change it to Wakanda. And then for every showing of TAM in this file, it would be now Wakanda. And you can see it changed it to Wakanda. Wakanda forever. So if I did a colon WQ, it would save it. But if I just do a Q, colon Q, and exclamation point, quit, and then go back into the file itself, or I can use my alt command, you can see the information is still there. So that's a general basis of awk, sed, and grep. We should go over the find command and the locate command and some other stuff. So, and xargs. So next week we'll be doing some scripting. We'll do some find, xargs, and xargs rem, and we probably should do some more grep. So these are going to be your bread and butter here. Find, xargs, grep are going to be your friends. So we'll get into some scripting stuff next week. We'll go over some more commands, but I want to show you how to use these things along with other stuff. So you're going to always be using the tools of Linux and always using the commands. Man, I should have closed that out. So that's it for this week. I'm going to start recording.